Hey, what is up guys, GuitarRock here, welcome back to another Brown Dust 2 video. Alright, if you guys are not aware, we get a new patch this particular week for Refithea. Alright, so we're going to talk a little bit more about this, give you guys a breakdown of where she's going to be used at or how strong she is overall. So, let's look at this particular one. Okay, this entire website is messed up, so okay, I was being too zoomed in right there. So if you guys are not aware, last week we had Wilhelmina for our first swimsuit costume. This week we will have Refithea right here, the poolside fairy Refithea to be exact. Now in case you guys are wondering if any of these costumes are limited, right? None of them are limited. So this particular year, they specifically mentioned, the developers, they basically came out and say none of the characters are going to be limited. Alright, that includes Refithea. That includes a Zenith and of course a Wilhelmina that just came out, right? So if you guys are worried, don't worry, because you can spend the Powder of Hope for them later on once they are getting added there, and you will always have chance to obtain them in the future via the standard banners. But regardless, Refithea is still one of the best supporter in the game. She's definitely one of the best support, encourage a lot of players to get her. So let's talk about this particular one in particular. What is she going to be all about? Now, if you can only get one copy of her, is she worth it? By default, you can see already at 7 SP. That is really high. It's too freaking high, right? So ally property damage is increased by 25% for 6 turns. If the target has the light property, increase property damage by 50% for 6 turns instead. Apply 1 SP cost reduction to allies for 6 turns. So there's a couple of things to absorb right here. So let's talk a little bit more about this, right? So first up, property damage. This is not unique to this particular costume, right? So Refithea already has 2 other costumes prior to this. If you guys are not aware, she has the one that gives crit damage and of course give you back SP. Where is my Refithea? I can't seem to find her. Okay. And then she has one more costume, which is this one, right? The Bride Wedding Refithea. So this is the one that gives you the property damage and it already gives you that particular effect, right? So if you click on this at +5, you can see, right? So I have her maxed out 2 SP, cooldown of 1 turn, ally property damage increased by 100% for 2 turns. Now already, this is something that you can see, long lasting, but ideally, you're going to use this other costume right here, the Pool Party Refithea, because this one lasts for 6 turns. So you're going to use this first and then use the other one. I think it stacks. Ideally, it should make sense for it to stack, right? I just don't see a reason why it wouldn't stack, right? But we'll try it out when she comes out. But one more thing to consider is the SP reduction. I thought it was pretty cool. That's definitely a very interesting one. Now SP reduction, especially in this particular case, is going to be very beneficial for everyone, right? So I'm glad that that is going to be a universal buff rather than just to the light damage. So I feel like that's going to be very helpful for any character that's like extremely SP heavy. That's going to include like Loan, maybe like Sacred Justia to a certain extent, right? A lot of characters are going to be able to benefit from that. Now, not sure if that is going to affect the 1 SP characters, right? For example, if Helena or a Liberta, they are already 1 SP, will they be further reduced to 0 SP? So if that's the case, pretty dope skill overall, right? So +1 is a decent upgrade, right? So you are going to get that down to 6 SP. However, I feel like even at 6 SP, that might not be that beneficial because you can only have about 5 characters, unless you're talking about guild raids, right? So most of the time for 5 characters, you're gonna minus 1 SP each for each character, not counting Refithea. So you're pretty much only going to consider, alright, in the normal battle circumstances. So let me show you guys an example right here. I will jump into a battle. So for example, right here you get 5 characters, right? So you have Refithea herself, so she is going to basically, let's say one of these is Refithea. So this particular character, let's say that's Refithea. So you have 1 character, right, surrounding all the other 3, right? Even if you have 4 characters surrounding her, that is going to be 1 SP each, so minus 4 SP. But keep in mind, Refithea herself costs 6 SP. So that still is still not worth it if you only use her for the SP reduction, right? Now if you use her for everything else, the property damage and everything else that comes alongside with her, then yeah, that's definitely going to be a good tangible benefit. Now I feel like this costume probably has the, if I have to guess, it probably has the least amount of value out of the other costumes, right? I feel like the Bright Refi, the chain that it provides is going to be very, very good. The other one, the main Refithea gives crit damage and a little bit of SP return. This particular one, it gives property damage, and of course, if the target is light property, you are going to basically double the boost. Now, +3, in my opinion, that 8 turns seems to be way more beneficial. Alright, you are going to get that last for 8 turns. Now that means you are going to be able to get way more value out of that. If you can afford to +3 her, I think that's going to be where the value starts to shine. You're going to start to see the tangible benefit. Now, of course, by default, she's a cross-tile character, right? And you want to try to get this particular range increase on the potential liberation. So that's going to be required as well. For the potential liberation skill, that means you're going to have to have some Tears of Goddess spare. For those of you who are not aware what those things are, every character has these 3 nodes that you can basically upgrade right here. So these are going to be the nodes, right? So you want to upgrade those things, so make sure you guys have those in advance. I'm running out of Tears of Goddess soon myself as well. But yeah, those are going to be the most important one. Right now you can see, if you are to max her out, right, the property damage is going to increase by 50%, alright, considering that you add these two, 40 plus 5 plus 5, and then 100% for the bonus if the target is going to be light. I find that very interesting because now she is an indirect buff to someone like Sacred Justia and Michaela, because those two are going to be light type characters or DPS characters. Sacred Justia is one of the strongest ones for physical. Same goes with, in that case, Michaela for magic. Right. Also, alongside with that, we got Ventana and Yuri as well. So those two are going to get the bonuses as well. So all in all, I think that's pretty good. The truth is, okay, outside of that, is it useful if you get this costume but not the other two, right? That's going to be the very, very important question. The answer is probably no, because this particular costume lasts for 7 turns. So basically you want to rotate around with the... I'm not sure if this is the one that you use first. Ideally it depends on the SP condition, but you can probably use this first and then use the default one afterwards. Not the default one, the what is this one called? The main one, the Gluttonous Refi, right? So you want to rotate alongside with this. So it makes sense for you to want to use this first, because this one is 5 turns, right? And then the current one, the swimsuit one, is 7 turns. So it makes sense for you to use the swimsuit one, and then go to the Gluttonous Refi, and then go to the Bright Refi 2 turns, and then rotate back to the swimsuit one again. So that is probably going to be the rotation alongside with it. So you get back the SP. But whether or not you are going to have enough SP is going to be a different story entirely, right? So that's going to be something that we'll have to test out, something that we'll have to rotate around. You probably can get away with not having this costume, but I think the 1 SP can basically change some rotation depending on the situation, right? Depending on what boss we are fighting and what's the roster that you brought in, right? So this is going to last for 8 turns, so keep that in mind. There's a lot of SP saved in the long run, especially for somebody that can spam their skills often like Sacred Justia. So very, very beneficial in that situation. Alright, so that is going to be it for this particular video. Let me know what you guys think overall. As per usual, subscribe if you guys haven't already. Give this video a like, and we're gonna try to do the pulls next time on... You know, I'll be streaming it live, right? Usually, I'll try to do pulls, stream it live on twitch.tv/GuitarRock69 if you guys want to tune in for that. Whenever that comes, that's going to be in 2 days' time. I'll see you guys then. Have a nice day. Goodbye.